If there's one thing Destiny players know, it's the importance of bringing the best loadout to every gunfight. We are always chasing the meta. The best of the best, which is exactly why we're partnered with SteelSeries. Because when it comes to gaming, SteelSeries is the meta. This week, SteelSeries just launched their 3rd generation Apex Pro keyboard, the world's fastest keyboard, equipped with SteelSeries OmniPoint 3.0 adjustable hypermagnetic switches, where you can individually adjust each key to actuate between 0.1 millimeters and 4 millimeters combined. With SteelSeries rapid tap and trigger modes, no keyboard reacts to your inputs more effectively. Even if you accidentally fat-fingered, SteelSeries protection mode reduces the sensitivity of surrounding keys so that you don't whiff that super accidentally trying to switch weapons. All of these settings are more customizable via SteelSeries and their smart setup, which automatically detects the game that you're playing and updates your presets to match. It's these features, plus RGB, individually lubricated keys, the OLED smart display, the magnetic wrist rest, detachable USB-C braided cables, and that also premium build quality. These are the things that make SteelSeries the best on the market. If you'd like to purchase the Apex Pro Gen 3 keyboard or any other SteelSeries product, you can use code Aztecross at checkout for 12% off your entire order. We're also going to be giving away one of these keyboards over on our Twitch, so come join us. Big shout out again to SteelSeries for being a fantastic partner. Fellas, episode 1 Echoes is wrapping up in just a few weeks, and I wanted to take this time to talk about some juicy weapons because we had some amazing weapons that dropped with this episode, as well as weapons from the Final Shape expansion as a whole. From game-changing primary weapons to meta-defining specials, there has been no shortage of exceptional weapons. In today's video, we're going to be looking at the 10 best weapons that I highly recommend farming for. Granted, you don't have to do this. If you want to just jump into Revenant next episode, you most definitely can do that. This is more or less a video for my folks that may have missed out on this past episode and just want a TLDR version of what to grind for in these final few weeks. Now, a quick disclaimer before we begin, this list will only include legendary weapons. So while yes, you absolutely should go and get the Choir of One exotic, which we've done a number of reviews on, that will not be a part of this list, as this is going to be for legendary weapons only. Now I'm going to start with our special weapons, as these have been game-changing for our builds this episode. First up, we have the Strand rocket-assisted sidearm, the Call. Strangely enough, this sucker is still like literally the most used weapon in the game, despite other contenders rolling out. Now the big selling point of the Call is the fact that this takes up our kinetic slots, and with it being Strand, this allows us to fill our Darkness Transcendence meter insanely fast. Now we have guides on how to farm for the Call amongst other Pelhard weapons, and we've done individual reviews of all of these, but the traits that really stand out here include things like Subsistence, Lead from Gold, Slice, Demolitionist, which are present in that 3rd column. In that 4th column, we have things like One for All, Vorpal, Hatchling. There really is so many great perk combinations that really just choosing one god roll is incredibly difficult here. Luckily for us though, the Call is craftable. This is the most used weapon in Destiny 2 right now since the Final Shape was launched, and for good reason, because the Call is a beast. Next up is another rocket assisted sidearm, one of which I thought was going to steal the glory from the Call, that being Aberrant Action. Now this is a solar rocket sidearm, and it has that standout god roll combination, hill clip incandescent roll. Now this perk combination is super potent on every gun that it's on, but especially so here on our rocket sidearms. The carnage you're able to cause with this rocket assisted sidearm with incandescent is a sight to behold. Now you have other perks, things like Strategist, Pugilist, Ambitious Assassin. You compare it with things like Swashbuckler, even Demolitionist, but it's that hill clip incandescent combination that makes this sidearm worth it. Now this weapon is craftable, and yes, we have guides on how to get Aberrant Action as well. You simply just need to do the seasonal or episodic content, those activities being Breach Executable or any of the Echo Battlegrounds, and eventually you'll get unlocks. The focus is with Failsafe at the helm. But without a doubt, guys, both of these sidearms are very, very good, and I highly recommend snagging both of them. Now moving on, this is a personal favorite of mine, and so I am a bit biased on this one, guys, and that is our dear old Marty, the original, the OG, the first of its kind, the Waveframe grenade launcher that started it all. Now I won't lie to you, the competition here is stiff. Tusk of the Boar, to Forbearance, to even Undercurrent. But Marty does present something here that deserves a second glance. The ability to roll hill clip incandescent is once again present here on this solar grenade launcher. You can also just roll auto-loading holster or even Envious Assassin in that 3rd column with incandescent. But incandescent on a Waveframe GL, you've got yourself this pocket ad clearing monster. Now Marty isn't craftable, but it can be easily farmed by doing the episodic activities, as well as being focused at Failsafe in the helm, once you of course unlocked Act 3 focusing. I really wish I can get into every one of these things, but the guides would literally take forever to recount here. We do have guides on all of this, and there are slight tweaks and changes that occur throughout the episode because, of course, we have Axe, but links to all of those will be down below. Now, the next weapon that has become a personal favorite of mine in many of my melee-based builds is the shotgun of Saint 14 Perfect Paradox. Saint literally uses this thing for everything. He's the kind of guy that would show up to Oryx with Perfect Paradox for DPS phase. Now, the reason why this shotgun is so good is because that origin trait that's present here, that being Cast No Shadows. This reloads a portion of your magazine from reserves for simply dealing melee damage. Now, that's not a melee kill, that's melee damage. So when you look at combinations like Pugilist paired with 1-2 punch, or maybe you want to go trench barrel, you've got one of the most heavenly shotguns in the game, simply because this origin trait is so damn good. Now, just because this weapon isn't craftable like Marty, neither one of these are craftable weapons. You can enhance them. You can enhance these perks, guys, meaning for Perfect Paradox, you can have enhanced 1-2 punch, which makes a big difference. You don't have to land all 12 pellets to get the enhanced melee damage. Instead, you need to land 10 of the 12, which in my opinion is well worth the Ascendant Alloy. Now, the last special weapon that I highly recommend is our Witherhoard 2.0 Lost Signal. Now, this is a brand new aerial denial frame grenade launcher that functions very similar to Witherhoard. This essentially fires out a burst that creates these lingering pools that deal damage over time. Now, the perks present here are also desirable. In that third column, we have things like Stats for All, Light from Gold, Auto-Loading Holster. In that fourth column, we have One for All, even Demolitionist. Some good combinations here overall, guys. The main thing I really like about this weapon is just that ability to spread that AoE effect. It may not do as much damage as Witherhoard, but what it does present is the ability to build up that Transcendent meter very quickly. When you spread that shot out all over the ground, everything that's getting hit by it is tagged up, contributing there to our Dark Transcendence meter, and it happens very fast. Now, this is also a weapon you can get from Echo Activities, and it's also focusable at the helm. Yes, it is craftable, but those are our special weapons. Moving on to thy primaries. The sandbox changes made with the release of the final shape truly shook up the meta, with pulse rifles solidifying themselves at the top. More specifically, our new archetype of pulse rifle, that being the heavy burst frame. And arguably at the top of that list is the Salvation's Edge heavy burst frame pulse rifle Nullify. Now, I know you're probably thinking, Cross, are you really recommending a raid weapon right now? You want me to assemble a fire team to go farm this thing? It's worth it, fellas. This has been one of my favorite weapons this entire episode for both PvE and even inside of PvP. Inside of PvE, we got some fantastic combinations. Firefly, Incandescent, very potent, very unique. The sheer amount of kabloomies you can get with this combination is seriously impressive. And I know you may be thinking, Cross, don't you want to go with a more damage dealing perk? Why add clear? That's the thing here, guys. With it being this heavy burst frame pulse rifle, the DPS is already so high, you really don't need it. Which is why combinations like Firefly Incandescent, Heel Clip Incandescent are so good. Now, if you are looking for damage, look no further than the raid perk Chaos Reshaped. This is a very strong perk. Think Frenzy, but much more potent, offering up to 35% increase to weapon damage. Chaos Reshape puts out. This has been one of my go-to primaries for this episode, with superb ad clear, fantastic primary DPS, and if you get an opportunity, rock it in PvP, guys. No lie, it's pretty good in PvP. Surprisingly, you wouldn't think it, but it's actually good. Now, our next weapon is another heavy burst archetype pulse rifle called Corrasion. Now again, another 2-round burst, but this one is arc. Much like Nullify, it has that same level of DPS, but it has access to arc perks, things like Eddy Current and Bolt Shot, which dips beautifully into our arc subclass verbs. We also have other options, like Aberrant Action, Pugilist, High Impact Reserves, which are all present in that third column. In that fourth column, you got Frenzy, Swashbuckler, One for All. But considering just how strong Bolt Shot is, especially paired with the newly buffed Eddy Current, I personally love that combination the most. This is another weapon acquired from Echo Activities, and it's also focusable at failsafe and craftable. But this is a superb option for my primary pulse rifle lovers. Now, our last weapon to mention for our primaries is actually what I feel is the sleeper pick, that being No Hesitation. Bungie was being very creative here by giving us our first support frame auto rifle. This literally allows you to heal your teammates when you hip fire shoot them. It applies restoration, it also gives a damage buff, and the healing provided by this weapon is no joke. Hence why Bungie coined it early on as the Don't Die gun. Not only is the healing on this thing phenomenal though, but fellas, it can slay. Besides being a healing auto rifle, this is a 600 300 round per minute auto rifle with very strong perks and very unique roles. We've got Physic, Circle of Life. These are 2 new traits brought to us in the final shape. Physic essentially allows you to provide yourself with restoration when healing teammates, which is massive because we all know the most important thing for a team is to not let the healer die. Then we have Circle of Life. This provides yourself with a 25% damage increase when healing allies. Now this weapon is craftable. You can opt to go for a more of an offensive perk setup. We have great combinations like Subsistence and Incandescent or even Demolitionist. Hell, you can run the best of both rules with Physic and Incandescent. And like our other Pelhard weapons, this can be farmed through the overthrow activity and can be focused at ghosts. Now on to our heavy weapons. First of our heavy weapons that I would recommend is this Adaptive Burst Linear Fusion Rifle, Scintillation. This is a strand linear fusion. And essentially, the benefit of this weapon is that you pretty much never have to reload. And that's because it comes with the origin trait Vice Stinger. Vice Stinger provides a small chance to reload your weapon when dealing damage. You pair this with rewind rounds, which is present there in that third column. You'll be shooting till it's Destiny 3, which is maximum copium. Now, what makes this even better is the fact that you have the perfect damage perk to pair with rewind rounds, and that being bait and switch. Linear fusion rifles are not in the best place, without a doubt. But Scintillation is far and above the rest in terms of raw DPS and sustained fire. If we ever do see a situation in which linear fusion rifles are at the top of the charts, Scintillation is going to be right there leading the charge. You can get this from Nightfalls, with the Adept version dropping from Grandmaster Nightfalls. Guys, I urge you that if you see this weapon back in rotation, farm it. Even in the state of linears right now, this weapon has the potential to carry you through even the hardest content in the game. Now lastly, it's not often that we recommend a machine gun, but here we are, fellas. The 900 round per minute solar machine gun, Speleologist. Think retrofit, but solar. Now this is kind of a what if scenario, but we have to put it on here. You remember back when Warlord's Ruin was released? Retrofit was a weapon many people were choosing for that dungeon. Assuming history may repeat itself with the new dungeon coming in this next episode, Speleologist could be that next weapon. Now, what is it that makes Speleologist so good? First up, it's in the rapid fire archetype, meaning it has, by default, better DPS than the other machine guns. Secondly, this machine gun has access to Deconstruct, which is present in that third column. Now, what this allows you to do is combine it with another damage perk in that fourth column, subsequently allowing you to stack damage perks. Now, a quick note on Deconstruct. In our video on Speleologist, we incorrectly stated that Deconstruct shouldn't work against bricks. That was unfortunately old information. Apologies on that. Deconstruct does in fact work against bricks. We have an entire video coming out on Deconstruct and what it works on, literally trying it on every enemy type in the game, including bosses. I was actually surprised to see how much actually does proc with Deconstruct, and we're talking 40% more damage, fellas. 40% on top of whatever you want to pair in that final column. Whether it's One for All, Kill and Tally, Target Lock, you've got double damage perks and you got Deconstruct that's funneling some ammo back into your weapon. Now I know, I've got some folks in here right now. Cross, what about Adagio? Why don't you ever recommend Adagio? Look, if you want to go throw on your fire team with Adagio on your machine gun, by all means, go right ahead. I want real damage perks. Again, this weapon is craftable. You can earn it through echo activities. It's focusable at failsafe, and we have guides on all of these weapons down below if you want to farm them. Again, nobody's forcing you. You don't have to get these. These are just my 10 recommended weapons from this past episode. Well, fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.